Hi, everyone. Welcome to Microeconomics Chapter 8, Segment 1. In this segment, we're going to explore and understand the four market structures that we will go through in detail for the rest of the course. If you recall, during our cost chapters, our last two chapters, I emphasized how important it was to understand those because we're going to use these through all our four market structures. So let's open up the slides and have a look at a few of the ones that I want to cover today. Remember that you need to cover all of the slides and all of the reading in the chapters. One thing when we're trying to explore four different markets or the four different market structures is we first look at how many firms there might be in the industry, whether there's many firms or just a few firms or just one firm, and that gives us an indication of the type of market structure we're looking at. And then we look at whether the products that the firms in those structures sell, whether the products are identical or whether they're somewhat differentiated. So we start off generally, and we're going to look at four markets. If there's many firms and they have identical products, we say that industry or type of market structure is called perfect competition. So we'll give some examples of that, but if you keep in your mind, agricultural products are what we would describe as a perfect competition market. If the products happen to be differentiated, then we'll say that that's monopolistic competition. So the products are of different types, but they're somewhat close together in use. Then if there's just a few firms in the industry, we call this an oligopolistic industry. And again, we split it out. If it's very identical products, it's an undifferentiated oligopoly. And if it's differentiated products, we call it a differentiated oligopoly. And then the last type of market structure we'll look at is one called monopoly. And that's where there's just one firm in the industry and they produce a unique product. So let's go into a little more detail on this. The one that we're going to focus on in this chapter is perfect competition. And we start off by saying, hey, it's got numerous sellers. So it's the most number of sellers in any of our market structures. It's an undifferentiated product. So the products are all identical, or at least that's what we assume. There's easy entry and exit into the market. So that means companies can easily set up in this market and people can easily purchase and buy in this market. In this particular market structure, perfectly competitive firms have no control over price. So they have no control over price. So let's look at monopolistic competition. And in monopolistic competition, this is all a continuum. Now there are many sellers, not numerous, but just many, which is slightly less. And they have a differentiated product. So that means the products that they use and sell all are similar, but somewhat differentiated. So pizza, for example, are very different types of pizza out there, but they're all pizza. They're differentiated by the type of cheese and the type of pizza place that's making them. It's still pretty easy to get in and out of these markets, and the seller's control of the price is low. And they have some control because their products are differentiated. They can advertise, they can sell a slightly different product, so they can charge different prices for them. So let's move on to oligopolies. Oligopolies are characterized by having just a few firms in the industry. And so there's not many like monopolistic competition. There's not numerous like perfect competition. There's just a few. So it's fairly difficult to get in and out of these industries, Oligopoly, the undifferentiated oligopoly, just simply means that all of the products that this industry produces are the same between companies. So things like a chemical company producing methanol, all methanol is the same, doesn't matter who produces it, it's a chemical formula. Or we can have differentiated products, say like breweries that are making different types of beer. There's only a few big breweries out there making the different types of beer, but they're a differentiated product. So when you look at oligopolies, those that have an undifferentiated product in other words, the products are all the same, they have moderate control over prices because entry is still difficult to get into this industry. There's big companies in this industry, so it's hard to get into it. If they have a differentiated product, then they've got substantial control over their price because not only are there just a few large firms in that industry, but each product that the firm produces is different from other products, even though they're similar. So if we go from perfect competition to monopolistic competition to oligopoly to differentiated oligopoly, we can see that the seller's control over price goes from none to very low to moderate to substantial control over price. Well, let's keep going. What if we introduce monopoly? Well, monopoly, most people probably already know there's just one firm in monopoly and they sell a very unique product because they're the only one selling it. Entry and exit into this industry is very difficult. If you try and get into a business that's run by a monopolist, they have such control over price and such control over the market. It's very difficult to get into it. And there's our final answer on price control. They have complete or very substantial control over price. So this is the way that we're going to look at the different market structures, from perfect competition to monopolistic competition to the two types of oligopoly up to monopoly. We will look at these characteristics, and you need to understand those so you can be given questions or look at a market and determine what type of market structure it is. So let's do a few quick examples. What type of market will you find the following types of products? Hairdressing salons? Well, let's go to the answer, and it says monopolistic competition. And the reason being is there's many hairdressing salons out there. It's not an agricultural product, so it's not perfect competition. And there's somewhat differentiation in the type of products that the hair salons offer, different types of haircuts. So monopolistic competition is that one. They have some control over their price as well. Industrial chemicals in Canada, well, there's only a few large chemical companies in Canada. So it's an oligopoly. But we say it's an undifferentiated oligopoly because industrial chemicals follow a formula and they're identical products across companies. The commercial breweries, on the other hand, that's an oligopoly, but it's differentiated because of the different types of beers that can be made that are distinguished: hoppy beers, malty beers, pilsner beers. So they produce different types of products, so it's differentiated. The world market for coffee, well, that is an agricultural product, and here we're saying it's perfect competition because we're going to say coffee beans are the same worldwide. Now we know they're not. You can get them from different countries and they'll have different tastes and different types of beans, but it's the closest thing we have to perfect competition. So we say the world market for coffee is perfect competition, just like the world market for wheat, another agricultural product, would be perfect competition. The last one, Rogers Cable in Ontario, we're defining the market. We're saying Ontario, and at one point in time, Rogers Cable was the only company providing cable in Ontario, so it had a monopoly. Just like BC Ferries has monopolies on ferry transportation in BC, or rather has a monopoly on that. So hopefully this helps explain the four types of market structures, and in our next segment, we're going to get into looking at specifically perfect competition. And we'll see you when we get there.